This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, friends. Welcome to GoOnlineTrainings.com. We are discussing about TSQL programming, Transact SQL programming. We had seen how to use local and variables, and what is a global variables also we discussed, and different else. And we'll see some more things today: how to use written statement, and how to use loops, and how to use a print function, and what is a try catch blocks. Everything we're going to discuss one by one. And what is a temp table and table variables. Already you know what is a temp table, right? So let us understand what is a table variable and difference between these two. So you should know how to use all these things as part of your stored procedures. So let me go here. And yesterday we were talking about some stored procedure, right? So use ibank. Okay, let me execute the stored proc which we have written. Let me just open that and go to tables, and not tables, go to programmability, go to stored procedures, and let us use the stored procedure that has been created, right? So it's taking some time. Okay, so today we'll understand what is a written statement, when to use it, and what is a loop, and how to use the loop. When you learn C or C++, Java, .NET, you have for loop and while loop, right? But in SQL Server, we don't have any for loop, and you have only while loop. What is the purpose of a loop? If you wanted to do any activity repeatedly, okay? We'll talk about written statement later. So let us talk about loop, okay? So what is the purpose of a loop? If you wanted to repeat the activity, okay, if you wanted to perform any activity repeatedly, that is when we're going to be using loops. Clear? So actually we have for loop, and we have while loop. Clear? So these are the loops available in all the programming languages like C, C++, Python, Java, .NET, everywhere. Okay, for loop and while loop. But unfortunately, SQL Server does not support for loop. It is going to be supporting only while loop. What is the purpose of a loop? If you wanted to do any activity repeatedly, okay, wanted to do, wanted to perform any act, any task repeatedly, okay, so that is when we're going to be using loop. Okay, am I clear? For example, you wanted to print, simple example is that, simple example, I wanted to print, okay, 1,000 numbers. Okay, so how do you print 1,000 numbers? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that. I wanted to print 1,000 numbers with the help of a print function. Clear? If you don't have a loop, then definitely you will not be able to print 1,000 numbers with the help of a printing function. Clear? So if you wanted to perform these kind of an operations, that is when the looping is going to be used in any programming language. So T SQL is also one more programming language which is part of the SQL server. If you wanted to use while loop, what is the syntax? Let us understand, right? Syntax of the while loop is that you need to have initial value, initialization, okay? Initialize the value, that is the first one. The second one is that you need to have condition, okay? The third one is that you need to have increment or decrement. Clear? So if you wanted to use any loop, whether it is a for loop or while loop, these are the things that you need to have. Clear? So I am talking about loops. So SQL Server has only one loop, that is while loop, right? So if you wanted to use while loop or for loop, any loop, unfortunately, for loop is not supported in SQL Server. So we have a while loop, right? So if you take a while loop, what are the things that you need to consider or you have to have it? There are three things that will be available. One is called initialization, the second one is called condition, the next one is called a increment or decrement. For example, so the first one is initial value, initialize the value, right? Initialize the value. The second one is called condition. The next one is called increment or decrement. Clear? If you know these three things well, then writing a loop is very, very, very important. Clear? So loop is going to be automating something. Loop is going to be automating something, but you need to supply some data, right? So how can we supply the data? So if you wanted to supply the data, what we do, we are going to create a variable. So definitely you have to declare one variable. So I will declare one variable. So declare at the rate x is integer. Now I'm going to be declaring a value, okay, a variable. So inside this variable, you should be able to store some data, right? So you need to have some data. I don't have any data here. Clear? So you may have some data here. For example, if I say at the rate x is equivalent to, let us say 0, so the x value will become 0. Clear? Because if you wanted to loop something, definitely you need to loop the data, right? Because the requirement is that I wanted to print 1,000 numbers. Clear? What is the purpose of a loop? Wanted to perform any task repeatedly. What is the task I'm talking about here? I wanted to print 1,000 numbers. We know how to use a print function, but where is the data? Data has to come from where? A variable only, right? So you need to declare at the rate x integer and set x value equals to 0. So already you have one variable. So now initialize value. So where you wanted to start the loop. Clear? So initializing means where you wanted to start the loop. I will say set at the rate x equals to 1. So this is my starting value. So x value can be anything. When you execute this, x value will become 1. So what will happen now? 0 will get removed and 1 will get placed. Clear? So this is a starting value for the loop. Now, what is the condition? Condition is at the rate x value is less than or equals to 1,000 or 100, whatever it is. Clear? So this is the condition. What is the x value? X value should be less than or equals to 1,000. So this is what? Okay. If this is true, this condition may be true. This condition may be true, or this condition may be false also, right? So this is the condition. So condition may become true or may become false. There are two things that you need to understand. If the condition is true, what are we going to do? We are going to do some action, whatever be the action. If the condition is true, you wanted to dance, you wanted to sing, you wanted to jump, you wanted to do some action. That is what is the action. If the condition is true. If the condition is false, okay, if the condition is false, you wanted to exit. So this is what is the two things that you need to understand. You stop the looping. You stop the looping. So that means you're going to be exiting from the looping. Clear? So if the condition is true, you do some action. After doing the action, what you do, you increment the value of this x. So how do you increment? You will say set at the rate x is equivalent to at the rate x plus 1. So this is what is called increment. X value is equals to 1. 1 plus 1 equals to 2. After 2, the x value will become 2. Clear? So this is how you have to write the program. So what is that I wanted to do? I wanted to print 1,000 numbers. Now let me write the program. Step number one, what I told you, declare variable. This is step number one. Let me write the program. So I would like to write the program here. Step number one, declare a variable. So how to declare? We know declare at the rate x is equivalent to, okay, so this can be at the rate x value can be anything. Okay, it can be 0 or 1, whatever you wanted to have it. So this is what I have done it. So I did not, include this. I have declared one variable. I did not include this. Directly, I am writing this. Set x equals to 1. So x value is equals to 1. So this is declaration of the variable, and this is what is called initialization. Clear? So declaration is done, initialization is done. So this step is done. This step is done, and this step is also done. Clear? After that, I have to write a condition. So to write condition, we have to use a syntax while, this is syntax, and write the condition here. What is the condition? If x is equivalent to less than or equals to 1,000, this is what is the condition. If the condition is true, begin and end. That's it, nothing else. This is what is called initialization. This is what is called condition. So if the condition is true, what I'm trying to do, I wanted to do some action. So what is that I would like to do? I would like to print x value. What is x value? X value is equals to 1. 1 will get printed. So this is what is called an action. Okay, so this is what is called initialization. This is what is called condition. If the condition is a true, action printing x. After that, I wanted to perform either increment or decrement. Now I wanted to perform at the rate x is equivalent to at the rate x plus 1. Clear? So this is what is the syntax of the loop. It is very, very, very simple. There is there are three things that you need to understand. Initialization. So step number one is called initialization. Okay, initialize the value. Step number two is called condition. Okay, so this is condition, then this is action, this is increment. So this is what is the program for the looping. So why looping is important? If you wanted to perform any activity 1,000 times, okay, then you must use a loop. There are two loops. One is called for loop, the second one is called while loop. Now unfortunately we don't have for loop in SQL server, we have only while loop. Clear? So declare a variable, and while x is less than or equals to 1,000, so x value equals to 1 now, right? So 1 is less than 1,000, that is a true. When this is a true, then you're going to be printing x. So it will get printed, 1 will get printed. Now later, x plus 1, x value is equals to 1. 1 plus 1, it will become 2. Now x value will become 2. Clear? Where inside your memory RAM, x value will become true. Clear? So then what will happen? So the x value has become 2. Then what will happen? It from here, it is going to come to condition only. It is not going to go here. So this is initialization, is only one time execution. It is going to be executing only one time. It is one time execution step. It is not going to execute repeatedly. So only one time this will get executed. After this, again, it is going to go for the condition. So what is the x value? X value is equivalent to 2 now. Okay, 2 is less than or equals to 1,000. It is true. So then print x. What is the x value? X value equals to 2. Then so the second value 2 will get printed. Clear? So remember that 2 will get printed. After that, you have 2. Again, because of this one, 2 plus 1, it will become 3. Then here you are going to go and you are going to be putting 3 up. Clear? So after 3 is done, so after this step, so again condition is checked. Okay, condition is checked. So now 3 value, 3 is here, 3 is less than 1,000, true. Then action, what is the action? The action will be printing x. Okay, Action will be printing X value. Now X value already we have printed a 1, then 2. Now it is going to be printing a 3. After printing this value, what will happen? So after printing this, again, after action, this will get executed. Clear? So this will get executed. Now after 3, X value 3 plus 1 equals to 4. 4 is going to be placed inside your memory. Clear? Again after 4, so after increment decrement, it will come and check the condition. What is the X value now? X equivalent to 4. 4 is less than 1000, true. Now if it is true, action. Again print X value. What is X value now? It will get printed 4. After action, then it is going to be incremented with the next value 5. Then again, like that, the data is going to be printing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The last number 1000 also will come, right? So 1000 also will get printed in this. 1000 is also printed. After you printing the 1000, it will increment 1000 plus 1. It will become 1001. Clear? So after printing 1000, it is going to be incrementing next value 1001. Now after the increment, it will come and check the condition. X value is less than or equals to 1001. So what happens? 1000 this side and 1001 that side. Now this is a false condition, right? So when this is a false, the loop will stop because it is going to exit. So after 1001, it will increment, 1001. Then what happens? Condition will become false. Then loop will get stopped. Clear? It is going to be printing these values. So only one time initialization will get executed. Next condition, action, increment. Condition, action, increment. Condition, action, increment. Action could be only one action, or action could be 1000 actions. You can do it here. If the condition is true, then 1000 people will dance. If the condition is true, then 1000 people will do, perform a song. So it could be one action or multiple actions, that doesn't matter. So syntax wise, this is how you're going to be executing. So let me execute this and show you. Now see, it is in a printing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Have you seen it? The 1000 numbers will get printed. Now you have totally 1000 numbers. Have you seen this? So this is how the execution is going to be happening. Clear? So if you wanted to print only 10 numbers, then you need to keep 10 here. If you wanted to only keep 10 numbers, I wanted to have only 10 here. Let me execute. Let me execute. So it is executed and printing 5. So anybody can write the loops very, very easily. So the loop syntax is very, very simple. Initialization, condition, action. If the condition is true, then increment. If the condition is false, automatically loop will come and loop will get ended there. Clear? So in all the programming languages, day one itself, you're going to learn looping and variables and everything. So this is how you should know how to use the looping concept. Clear? But now I wanted to create a stored procedure and I wanted to centralize this code. Clear? Because every time, so if I close this, what happens? If I close this, complete things are going to go away. Clear? So now if I close this, it is not saved anywhere. If I want to save the program saying that I wanted to run the loop, but create a stored procedure, and inside that you create a loop. So what can we do? So we say always use ibank. Okay. So you can create a loop inside stored procedure. You cannot create a loop in the views because view does not support a programming. Now I create a proc. Now user stored procedure. So I'll say print 1000 or print numbers and as begin, because I don't want to give anything here. So I don't want to give any parameters here. Create a proc print numbers. Now, what is that? First, you need to have declare at the rate x is equivalent to x is integer. Now what is the x value? X value can be anything, but x value I would like to start. This is the initialization. Then I wanted to write a loop. Loop is x is equivalent to less than or equals to what? 100. Clear? So 100, then you must use begin and end. Clear? If the x value is less than or equals to 100, then you need to perform an action. What is the action you want to do it? Simply printing. Print at the rate x. After the action, I wanted to either increment or decrement. So I wanted to use like this. Okay, x value plus 1. That's it. So this is how you should be able to write a program and you should be able to create it. So this is what is called initialization value. This is the value. This is what is called a loop, and it is going to be printing. Now let me create this program. Created. Now I wanted to call the stored procedure, which is going to be printing execute stored proc name, right? So execute stored proc name. So it is going to be printing 100 numbers. It's very, very simple. So it is going to be printing 100 numbers here. So anybody can understand this. Yeah, am I clear, guys? So writing loop is very, very simple. Now instead of printing, so somebody is saying you create a stored procedure, okay? Create a stored proc and insert 100 numbers in a table. So that is what they need. They don't want to display. They're saying create a stored procedure and insert 100 numbers in a table. If they say table, first I have to create a table, right? So create a table. So TBL table, let us say nums. I'm going to be having only one column. One column is ID integer. That's it. Okay. So this is the table I'm going to be creating. I'm going to be creating a table called table nums. Now I don't have any data in this. Select star from what is the table name? Table nums. Numbers. I don't have any data. Now somebody is saying you wanted to print something, right? So here we are only printing, but in this I'm going to be inserting. So let me alter the stored proc, and instead of a printing, so I will comment this. So what I do, I'll say insert into which table? This table values at the rate x. That is what? Okay. So x value 1, then it will become 1. The condition is a true, and it is going to be inserting first value. Then it will become 2. Then it'll insert second row. So simply instead of a printing, you put like this, and it is going to be inserting the data into which table? It's going to be inserting into this table. You have to create this table first, and let me alter this stored procedure. That's it. This is a stored proc got altered. Now I wanted to print. I wanted to not print display, no, not display. I would like to insert. Okay. So I don't have any data in this table. So it is going to be inserting. It is going to be inserting numbers like this. Clear? So numbers like this. Now it is inserted. Now if you wanted to see the data, now you simply go and see it. Now see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 100 rows, 100 data is going to be inserted. Clear? So this is how, if you wanted to generate, you should be able to generate. And if you wanted to insert something, you should be able to insert. All these things can be achieved with the help of what? If you wanted to perform both operations, printing and inserting, that is also fine. Okay. So let me again alter this stored procedure and let me execute it. It is going to print at the same time. It is going to insert as well. So instead of 100 numbers, I wanted to say 40 numbers. Clear? So I wanted to alter this and execute. Now let me delete all the data, delete from table nums, delete all the data from this table. Now deleted. Now I have altered the stored proc. After altering it, you need to execute. the stored proc like this. It is going to be inserting. So it is printing also. Printing and inserting. Printing one and inserting the same thing. Printing two, inserting the same. So both actions are, going to happen. So it is happened that we can see. So now if you see the data, it is going to be there. So you have 40 numbers in this. Clear? It is also inserting and it is also printing. So whatever you wanted to do it, you should be able to do it. So this is what is the thing that you need to understand. Clear? Now, I wanted to give you one small assignment. So, write a loop to insert odd numbers in a table below 500. Okay. Write a loop to insert even numbers in a table below 1000. Okay. You write the program not today, tomorrow. So, how can we identify so whether the given number is odd number and it has to start with 1 and you consider the condition 500 or 1000. Clear? You can write a stored procedure to perform this assignment. Write a loop to insert odd numbers in a table. Write a loop to insert even numbers in a table. Am I clear, guys? So this is the assignment using a loop. You should be able to do it tomorrow. Am I clear? So now we understood what is a loop. So there are many loops in programming. You have while loop, do while loop, for loop, and everything. But in SQL Server, we have only while loop. So loops will have syntax like this. What is the syntax? Initialization, condition, increment, and decrement. Clear? If the condition is true, it is going to be doing something, and it is going to be, if the condition is true, then after action, it is going to increment or decrement. If you put minus operator, it is going to decrement. Clear? So then you can do whatever you wanted to have it. Clear? So this is how a loop is going to be working. So loops are very, very easy to understand. So these are the simple programming concepts that you should aware of. Clear, guys? Now, that is what is called a loop. Printing, always we discussed what is the printing and all, right? So what is the printing? Printing is used to print the data as part of T-SQL programming. If you wanted to print something as part of SQL, we are using SQL select statement. Select, you can say some number, it will get printed. So already we had seen. Now let us understand what is a written statement. A written statement we'll see a little later. So now I wanted to discuss about temp tables and table variables. And try-catch blocks also we'll discuss later. So temp tables and table variables, let us discuss now. Let me go to SQL Server. So I close this program. Even though I close this program, so the stored proc has this the you know print numbers is getting already centralized, right? So you can also have what is called, you can also perform increment input parameters and everything can be set for this. Now let me open this, say modify. So every time we are altering the stored procedure and we are giving the number here. So I don't want to alter the stored proc. The customer may give you where he wanted to start. Okay. So this value also customer may give you, and what is the condition? This is also the customer may give you. Okay. Where I would like to start, that is initial value. The second one is that, and what is the condition? So what is the upper limit? That is also we can take it from the customer. If that is the case, you need to have two input parameters. One is called starting value. So you can say at the rate starting value. Okay. So starting underscore value. Okay. So let us say integer. So starting underscore value means I'm talking about this. So this I don't want to supply. Let me remove it. So starting value. Now this is what is called upper limit. Okay. So whatever you want to have. So upper limit. So or where you wanted to stop it. So I'm using two things. Where you wanted to start it, initialization, and what is the upper limit. Clear? So upper limit. So this value is going to come here. Okay, starting value where you wanted to start this value. So this is the starting value. So this was the x. Then it will become what? X plus 1, starting value plus 1, and like this. You need to write the program. So here we need to put instead of x starting value. That's it. Okay, or you can also give x here. You can also give x here. So x, and you can also give upper limit. So upper limit is going to come here. So this is how you should be able to make input parameter and try to execute this program, right? Now let me executing. So must declare x. Where is the x here? Somewhere printing x is not required. We are only removing that and inserting the values. Clear? Let me execute it. Now we can close this. If you wanted to execute this program, you should supply two inputs. Okay, let me close this. Now refresh and go to new query window, exit. Ensure that you're available in iBank. Okay, so because it is available in iBank, you should also point to iBank, and where you wanted to start. I would like to start from 5, and from there I would like to continue till 100. Clear? So when you do this, it is going to be printing or inserting all the data into this table numbers, right? Table nums. So this table is going to be having data. Now I don't have any data. Let me execute this. When I execute, it is inserting the data. Now you see what is the starting number. Starting number is 5. It is inserted till what? 100. Clear? So whenever you call stored procedure, it is going to delete all the data and it is going to insert the data. That is the case. Now you right click on this modify. So what I'm trying to do before inserting the data, so before looping starts, what I do, delete all the data from this table. I say truncate. Okay, truncate table and delete all the data from here. Okay, delete all rows. Then here you are going to be inserting data, right? Insert the data based on the condition. So I don't want to have the old rows and new rows. I would like to modify this, delete all the data in the this table, then insert the data. Let me execute this program. Now I must close this. Now I say I have the data, but next time I wanted to start with 1 and I wanted to have till 50. Let me execute it. It will delete all the data. Now it is going to be printing all the data like this. Clear? So this is going to be executing, printing all the data. Now I wanted to start with 100. Now I would like to, go up to 500. When you execute it, it is going to be deleting the data and inserted the data. Now you should be able to see the data as well here. So this you are writing here so that you can print. So this also can be kept inside your stored proc. For example, starting with the 500 and it is going up to 500. Now you may say I would like to start with 1 and insert only 10. Clear? It is only inserting the data but not displaying anything. So why? Because this statement is not available inside the stored proc. So what I do, I also modify this now. Now what I do, after inserting, this is what is called deleting, this is what is called inserting. Now after that, I wanted to display the table. So how can we display the table? So display can be table can be done with the help of this statement cut. Okay, and you're going to be having this here. Clear? Truncating, inserting the data here, and you're also displaying the data. So this is what is the modification I have done it. Close this. Now I need not again write select star from the table name. So it is going to be, for example, when I say 25, now see what happens. It is going to be deleting and inserting and displaying the data as well. How it is displaying? Because in this I have added those statements. What are the statements? The first statement is called truncating the table, inserting the data, then displaying the data. If this is not there, it is not going to display anything. You need to write extra query to display the data. So this is what is called a centralizing a what is called stored proc. If you see stored proc is only this part. All these are we already studied. Only this one we studied now. So this you have studied. This one already you have studied. So what is the stored procedure? So stored procedure means a bunch of SQL statements and T-SQL statements putting together and giving a name to that, extra thing. You can have input parameters plus output parameters. So what is the output parameter, we'll discuss later. So as of now you can have multiple input parameters. At the time of calling a stored proc, you have to supply those input parameters. Am I clear? So this is how you are going to be understanding a stored procedure. Stored procedure is not so complex. Stored procedure is very very easy. It is going to be having only the SQL and T-SQL statements. T-SQL means what? Programming, if and else, variables, all these are called T-SQL statements. SQL statements means a truncating, displaying. So this is what is called a T-SQL statement, and this is what is called a SQL statement. This is what is called SQL. So stored procedure is a set of SQL and T-SQL statements and kept under a roof. You supposed to give a name to the roof. Clear? So that is what is called a stored procedure. Why stored procedure? I wanted to centralize my code, create once and call multiple times. Who's going to be calling? Client application like Java, .NET, SAP programs, Android programs, iOS programs, all the mobile applications. So everybody wanted to call the stored procs. Clear? So that is how the server and the client is going to be talking, and the communication is going to be happening from client to the server via a view, via a stored procedure, and via a function. When should I create a view? When should I create a stored procedure? So if you have only one query and no programming, no parameterization, no input parameter, if that is the case, go in for a view. If you wanted to write multiple insert, update, truncate, and looping programming, that is when you cannot use a view, go in for a stored procedure. Clear? What is the disadvantage of a stored procedure? Stored proc cannot be called as part of select. This is where the issue starts. So you cannot say select the stored proc name. It is not going to execute. Clear? It's not going to execute, but you can call a function, call a view like this. You can call the function as part of select. Select get date. So what is this? Get date is a function. I'm able to call easily and get the data. I can also give some alias as today's date and time, right? So that is the beauty about a function. How you're going to be calling a function with the help of a select. And how can we call a view with the help of select star from the view name? But how stored proc is called with the help of exec or execute. Clear? Exec or execute. So this is what you should be able to do it. Clear? So that is what the difference between stored procedure and a stored procedure and a view. View and functions can be called as part of what? As part of select. But stored proc can be called as part of execute or exec. So exec or execute. Even though you don't write anything, that is fine. This is also fine. So without putting exec. So for example, I wanted to give 30. Will it get executed? Why not? So this is also fine. Exec or execute, or without writing anything, stored proc will get executed, but not this. If you don't try to select, will it get executed? No, it will give you an error, right? Incorrect syntax. Have you seen this? But if it is a stored proc, you need not write. We were writing sp underscore help, then the table name. Table name is employee table. Do you remember this? What is this? This is a stored proc. So if it is stored proc means you need to put exec. But are we putting exec? We never put exec. But you're supposed to put exec or execute. So this is what we were using. So what is this sp underscore help? This is a system stored procedure. Clear? You're supposed to put exec, but even though you don't put it, is going to be executing like this. Am I clear? So execute is not compulsory, but the better you can have execute there. But stored pro cannot be called as part of select or insert or update, but functions and views can be called as part of this one. Are you clear? So these are the few things that you have to understand, guys. Now, today let us understand what is a temp table and a table variable. So let me close this. If you wanted to drop a procedure, how can we drop? Drop proc name. Let us understand print loops, if and else, everything we discussed. Let us understand temp tables today. So we know that there are local temporary and global temporary. Let me quickly go to the temporary tables and let us understand some more things today. So loop also we discussed, and so I wanted to use today few more things. What is that? I would like to have it. Yeah. Temp tables are two types. Already we know one is called a local temp tables. It is created using hash symbol. It's available to the user, who created it. It is deleted when the user closes the session. These tables are created in TempDB database. Clear? So we can have create a table hash test or hash employee, whatever be the name that you wanted to give. So this table is called as a local temporary table. So this is going to be created in the TempDB database. Even though I am in iBank database, so this is available. So you can have a primary key, foreign key, everything can be created. Check constraint, null, not null, foreign key, primary key, indexes, everything can be created, but it is not in the iBank database. Now this is how we can create a local temporary. So temporary tables, why? Because sometimes I don't want to have the permanent table. For example, when you go to maths examination, you do lot of rough work, say in a separate paper. So that is what is called temporary purpose. You're going to be using that paper. After the exam, what you do, you throw the paper out, right? So that is, I wanted to use some kind of a table, but not permanently. I wanted to use locally. For example, I go to Dubai, there is a server, get some data. I go to Australia, there is a server, get some data. Combine Dubai data and uh, the other UK data and store locally into temporary purpose. That's it. So get some data from Dubai, get some data from America, and you do some joining operation locally. You should be able to store in a temp DB. So after, and you do some processing on the temporary table, then you come out of that. When you come out of that, automatically what happens? The temp tables will get closed. For example, if you create a temporary table inside a stored procedure, when the execution of a stored procedure is over, means the connection is lost. That means the temp tables are automatically deleted when the execution of the stored procedure is over. Remember this. Clear? Can I use a temporary tables inside a stored proc? Why not? You can create, you can get the data from elsewhere, and you can do some kind of a processing based on the temp table. When the execution of the stored proc is over, means the session is completed. Immediately stored procs are the stored procs are going to delete the temporary tables. Am I clear? So how to create a temporary table? So create a table hash employee. You can give whatever you wanted to give. Now I wanted to insert some data. So how to insert the data? You can say hash employee, like this. You can insert the data. So I say Bhaskar and Anu. I'm going to be inserting the data into this table. Where is this table located? This table is located in TempDB database. Go to temporary tables. Employee table is available. Have you seen this? Now I should be able to read the employee table data, which is not a permanent table. So I'm able to see the data. Now, if you wanted to drop this table manually, also you can drop like this. Clear? Manually also you can drop like this. Now you should be able to delete this. It is not there. Clear? So it is not there. But if you wanted to create once more, you should be able to create. Let me take this, go to new query window. I wanted to create a temporary table. Now let me execute. Now you will be able to get some data. Clear? So the local temporary table is available to this connection number 63. I open one more connection, and I wanted to also call the same table. Okay, from the other connection, it is not available. I told you, right? So local temporary means whoever is created, only same connection can call multiple times. You can call here, and if you wanted to call once more, you should be able to call it here. But within the same window, you can call multiple times. In one more window, you will not be able to call it. Clear? So local means only if you create a temporary table inside a stored proc. So within that stored proc, you can call multiple times. But you cannot say I will call this temporary table in another stored proc. It is not going to happen. Clear? So this is what is called a local temporary stored proc. Okay. So now local temporary table. Now I want to insert some more rows. Why not? You should be able to insert one more data here. And so the number three is called simret. And if you wanted to modify something, update, delete, all the things are going to happen. So no problem at all. But it is available to this connection only. Clear? You can update, delete, whatever you wanted to have it. You can do that. There is no issue at all. But if you close the connection, what happens? The temporary table will get dropped automatically. Or if you drop the table, connection is live, but I am dropping a table hash employee. So when you execute, this will go. I am not going to be dropping. So I wanted to close this. So when I close the connection, so when you go and refresh it, now when you see it is gone. Have you seen this? So temporary table will be removed when the connection is closed, or a temporary table will be removed when you drop table, hash the hash employee. Clear? So that's what you need to understand. Then we have a global temporary. What do you mean by global temporary? Global temporary can be created with the help of double hash symbol. It's available to all connections. So I can create, and you can also call one more connection also call. So only thing is a double hash, and you can have EMP, or you can give any name. So you can have a primary key, foreign key, check constraint, indexes. Lot of things can be created. People may ask you, in a temp table, can I create a primary key? Can I create an index? Can I create a foreign key? So all these things people are going to be asking. Make sure that you know clearly. Now I wanted to create one global temporary table. Now this is available here, right? Nowadays global temporary, which is available. Now how can we insert? So we can insert the data as simple permanent table. We insert the data like this. Now you can read the data from this connection. Now you should be able to read the from this connection, and you can also go to new connection, and you should be able to read from here. Clear? So it is available not only to this connection, but also the other connection. So when it will get dropped, so it will get dropped whenever you wanted to drop this, like this, drop table hash double hash emp. Now this will get dropped. Or when I close this connection, whoever is created, if they close the connection, then definitely this will get dropped automatically. Even though this connection is alive, if the creator is gone, means this will go. Clear? So that is what is the global. Global means I can create, I can use, you can use, anyone can else use. That is what is the local. And the global you can call multiple times. Clear? So that is what is the local and the global temporary tables. When we close all connections, the sequence will automatically drops the global temporary table, or the creator of the global temp table will go away. If that is the case, automatically the global temp table will be dropped from the temp DB database. Clear? Even though you're pointing to iBank database, it's not going to be pointing there. Clear? It is not going to be keeping the temporary table in this database, guys. Clear? Now, so what is a local? What is a global? One more beautiful interview question people are going to be asking: what is a table variable? This is a very important question. Then they'll ask you, what is a table variable versus temp table, right? Let me tell you clearly. What is a table variable? So the subject is, what is a Variable, we know. What is a table variable? We should understand, right? So, what is a variable? Variable means which can hold a single value. For example, I create a x. So, how to create variable? You will say declare at the rate x integer. So, x is a variable which is capable of storing an integer. So, where this memory will get allocated? Memory will get allocated inside your RAM. RAM means memory. So wherever the server is there, in that server, it is going to be occupying memory space of that server. So it is going to be executed here itself. Clear? So this is where the X will get allocated. Now what we can do, we can have set at the rate X is equivalent to 20. Now we know that SQL Server is going to be putting 20. Now if you want it to print, if you want it to print, we will say print at the rate X, or you can also say select, anything is fine, right? So this is what is called a normal variable. But what is a table variable? Let me explain. And this is what is called a normal variable. Okay. So variable can hold a single value. So you may also declare a variable like this. Declare at the rate name or at the rate city. Let us say varchar 100. Clear? You can also declare a variable like this. Now you can say set at the rate city is equivalent to, we can store maximum 100 characters. I'll say Bangalore. Then what will happen? So you will have a variable called city. This is going to be stored. Then you should be able to print something. Print at the rate city. So this is also perfectly fine. Any variable can store a single value. Bangalore is a single value. If you wanted to store any other value, the New York, if you wanted to store, it will get replaced with this value. This is what is called the behavior of a normal variables, right? So one developer like you asked Microsoft, I'm so happy. So I'm able to store a single value. But now my question is, I wanted to store a table inside a variable. That is what is called table variable. So what he's saying? He's saying, don't give me one value. I have a table. You know what is a table, right? So table means you have set of rows and columns. For example, I have employee ID, I have employee name, I have employee salary, I have one, say John, and 1000. Like that, I have a lot of data, Peter and 2000. So one guy asked Microsoft, you're giving normal variable, but the problem is only one value I can store. Then there's, I need a variable which can hold a table. Give me this kind of an approach to me. And that should be a variable. It is not a temporary table. It is a variable which can hold not only single value. I would like to store rows and columns, but that should be a variable. So this is what is called a table variable, a variable which can hold not only single value, multiple rows and multiple columns. Clear? So that is what is a table variable. Then Microsoft says it is something interesting. Why not? We will also do R&D. We will give you one table variable. Then they have given like this. They have said declare at the rate X is integer. What is integer now? Integer is a data type. So what is the meaning of this? At the rate X is a variable which is a capable of storing an integer. Clear? So integer is a data type. Clear? Then they said I'll create declare at the rate employee instead of integer. They said, okay, so you see carefully. They said declare declare at the rate employee instead of integer. They said a table. Now, what is the meaning of this? At the rate employee is a variable which is capable of storing rows and columns. Earlier, it was integer. Clear? Declare at the rate emp, or it could be any other name. It could be x. So declare at the rate x. which is capable of storing integer. Now declare at the rate f, which is capable of storing a table. So table is a one more data type. Integer is also one more data type. Varchar is also data type. Table is also data type. So when you say table, you need to open the bracket, close the bracket. You need to declare the columns: employee ID, integer, primary key. Now see, this is how table variable can be created. A name varchar 100. Clear? You can say null, not null, whatever you wanted to have, that can be there. So employee name, okay. Now you can have like this. I have created two columns. Now x is what? X is not, x is a variable. X is a variable which is capable of storing rows and columns. Not only one value, it is going to store two columns and multiple rows you can store. But the question, where this variable will be? Is it in a RAM? Yes, definitely it should be in RAM. But Microsoft says it is not in the RAM. Clear? Microsoft says this is available in your temp DB only. Clear? Because normally variables should go to RAM. Normal variables should go to RAM, but a table variable is not going to go to RAM. It is going to be allocated in say your temp DB. So this is way. So global temporary, local temporary, all of them are available here. Along with the temporary tables, it is also going to come here. So this is what is a variable. Watch variable? The variable name is called at the rate x. Clear? And you have two columns, employee ID and employee name. Now you should be able to insert the data. How can we insert the data? Insert into at the rate x values. Now see, just like a temporary table, one, let us say in single quotes, you will give RAM. So like this, you should be able to execute. Okay, you can have one more row also. How can we insert one more row? You should be able to have one more row like Peter. Clear? So how can we read the data? Very simple. Select star from the at the rate x. This is how a variable which is capable of storing a table. Now you need to say table here. Clear? Then only it works. So people may ask you, what is the difference between a temporary table and table variable? That is the question many people would ask you. Temporary table also gets created in TempDB database, and a table variable also created in the TempDB database. It is also temporary, it is not permanent. And when you insert the data will come. One here and here you get the RAM. The second two, it is going to go to and it will get stored there. It is Peter. Clear? Now, as soon as the execution is over, as soon you have executed the complete statement, as soon as the execution is over, this will get deleted automatically. That is what is the difference between a temp table and a table variable. Clear? So temp table, what happens? So if I create some temp table here, so temp table, how can we create? We are going to be using hash employee. It is a hash. Okay. So even though execution is over, this will be available. Clear? But if I create what is called at the rate x, what or at the rate emp, and if I store some data here, employee ID and employee name, so as soon as the execution is over, this will get removed, but it is not going to be removed immediately. The execution is over. This is still there till you close the connection. So that is the scope between the temporary table as well as the table variable. So let me show you one example, right? So now declare at the rate accent is normal variable. We can have only one value. Now what I'm saying, table variable declaration is declare at the rate employee table, primary key, foreign key, everything you can give. You cannot say let me execute and let me insert the data. So normal variables, how? Normal variables, you cannot say declare a variable, then insert, then you print. Everything need to be executed at a time. Clear? So must declare, because whenever you insert the data in a normal variable. Can we execute like this? Execute. Now can we execute next statement like this? No, it is a variable. Variable means what? As soon as the execution is over, the variable will be removed. But normal variables are stored in RAM, but a table variable which is capable of storing a table, we call table variable. So that will be created inside the temp DB. Clear? So what is the difference between a table variable temp table means, as I told you, this is there even though the execution is over. Till the connection is alive, this is there, but this is gone when the connection is gone. Now, when the execution is over. For example, I create like this. Now I say, let me insert data after some time. You cannot do that. Or later, I would like to read the data like this. No, you cannot do that. You need to execute everything one shot. So when execution is over, it will show you the data. Now you cannot say, I wanted to call this statement once again. It is not going to be executing. So the scope is only one time usage. Scope is only one time usage, even though in single window. Okay, even though in single window, only one time. But if I go in for a single, normally, this kind of a table. So let me go to new query window. Now let me execute this. Now I am executing here, and let me come down and sorry, let me come down, and after some time I would like to insert one more row. So say Simran, and I am executing, and still the table is available even though execution is over. That still table is available. So this is there till the connection is live. Clear? But I am talking about this guy, table variable. So it is gone as soon as the execution is over. It is going to insert the data. It would have deleted this table once the execution is over. This is not permanent. Okay, it is not there, not even one extra second or a minute. Clear? So this is only one time usage, this is a multiple time usage. So that is what is one more difference. Clear? You cannot say I have inserted only two rows, I have executed, after that let me insert one more row. You cannot do in this, because it is there till the execution is over. So both of them are available in the TempDB database. It is only for one time usage. This is a multiple times usage. Clear? Both of them are in temporary nature. This will get disappeared as soon as you close the connection. Clear? So when you go and see, you should be able to see hash employee when you close the connection, or if you wanted to call once more, you should be sorry. If you wanted to call once more, you should be able to call when you close it. So then only this will go. Otherwise, the scope is more. Clear? Here the scope is very, very less. One time usage only. So cannot be dropped. Why? These are automatically removed. You cannot drop. That is also one more difference between temp table and a table variable. What is a table variable? A variable which is storing a table. Now I want to update some data. So I have a RAM and I would like to update, or I have a kernel I would like to update. So you need to execute everything at one shot. Okay. So I would like to, I cannot delete it. So now you see from here to here, I am updating and I am also again selecting. Now you need to update. So RAM data have updated to Sujat, you can update it, but everything you should be able to execute only at a time or one shot. Clear? Update, everything can be done. So people may ask you, what is a table variable? A variable which can store a table. So you can perform all insert, update, delete statements on the table variables. These are, these use less system resources. Why? Because as soon as the execution is over, this will get disappeared from the temp DB and create once and use only once. This is the interesting question. Difference between a temp tables and table variables. Use a temp tables when we want to store large amount of data, and use, else use table variable. Table variables are faster than the temp tables because these are going to be using less system resources.
A system means I'm talking about TempDB space. One time use table variable and small data, multiple time usage of temp tables and a large amount of data. So this is what you should be able to tell them. So temp table, table variable, both of them will get created in TempDB. As soon as the execution is over, table variable data will get removed. And even though your execution is over, the temp table, temporary tables are available in the TempDB. You can create ones, use multiple times, a large amount of data, and a multiple time use, go in for temporary table, either local or global. If it is a one time use, a small amount of data, go in for a table variable, a variable which can store a table. Clear? So all these things are very much important, guys. So this is a compulsory interview question. You should be able to understand what is a temp table versus a table variable. Variable means it has to be there in the RAM, but unfortunately, Microsoft is given a different route. It is not going to store in the RAM. It's going to be there in the TempDB database. So in tomorrow's sessions, we'll see what is a written statement, what is a try-catch blocks, and we see what is the output parameters and everything, and we go in depth of stored procedures. Clear? Now you know when to write a stored procedure, and you know how to write a loop, you know how to use, you know, if else and local variables, everything inside your stored procedure. Now we are going to be writing a complex stored proc using a temporary tables, table variables, loops, return statement, try catch blocks, everything. If you're able to use in a stored proc means you know how to write complex stored procedures. Clear? SQL, T-SQL, if you know everything, that means you can write complex stored procedures. I'll give you a couple of examples tomorrow. We had seen only input parameters to the stored procedures. We also discuss output parameters. We also discuss written statements and try-catch blocks, everything. Am I clear? Hope you're enjoying the classes. Any questions, guys?
So in real time, when will you use the temp variable, the table variable?
So normally in your user-defined functions, okay? In your user-defined functions, we use a table, variables for the calculations purpose. So that we'll discuss again later. But apart from that, if you wanted to use small amount of data, and definitely temporary tables are very, very dangerous. Remember this point forever. When I was working for a Microsoft 10 years back, my architect was telling, don't never create a temporary tables in your stored procs. If you create more temporary tables, the problem is it is going to be occupying more and more space in the temp DB, because the stored proc may take a lot of time to execute it. It may take 1 minute, 30 seconds, or 40 seconds. That is a bigger time. So a server can have a lot of connections, lot of clients. Many clients are connecting. 10,000 people are connecting, and 10,000 temporary tables are created. Now you assume that it is too much of a data for the TempDB. TempDB may give you a lot of TempDB is full kind of an issues. Clear? We thinking that our stored proc will get executed only once, but in the real time, so Amazon website is going to be used by many people concurrently at a time, right? So if there is a stored procedure, even though stored proc is executed for 30 seconds of time, but that 30 seconds, not only you, there are thousands of people who's going to execute the same stored proc. What will happen? So those 30 seconds of time, 30,000 tables will get created. Clear? So that if you have a temporary tables there, clear, and it will create a lot of problems. So using the temporary tables in the real-time programming is should be reduced, or sparingly you must use them. Clear? So rather have them put the data in your table variables. Apart from that, you can also use the table variables in your user defined functions, that we'll see. Yeah.